Good morning and welcome to the Nairnshire Committee. There's been no apologies for absence. There's been no declarations of interest or transparency statements received. I don't know if there's anybody got anything they wish to add to that. If not, we'll just move on to item 3, which is the good news, of which there is a lot. The first thing I'd like to report is that the harbour options appraisal for Nairn, that's been awarded to the consultants Wallace Stone and Dingwall, who've got an international reputation. That's been funded by the Regeneration Fund and by HIE. And that will be coming back to the Nairnshire Committee in the new year. There's 2 points to it. One, there's looking at how to cater for the increased capacity, and the second thing is looking at the possibility of getting cruise ship liners able to berth and come into Nairn. So that's good. The second thing is the reuse, repurpose and recycle feasibility study. That's finally coming to completion. And it's just been finalised, and that too will be coming along to the area committee in there. So there's a lot of exciting things coming to the area committee. Out with the area committee, I'd like to bring your attention to the Nairnshire Community Newsletter. I've been co-chairing, along with the Reverend Stephen Manders, a steering group who are looking to produce a community newspaper, a weekly community newspaper. And we've been meeting weekly, and we are having a public meeting. This is the purpose of this, on Thursday, the 16th of November at 7:30 in the community centre. So that's Thursday, the 16th of November in the community centre at 7:30. Now we're inviting all organisations, groups, sporting, cultural, anybody who's involved in an association or group to come along, because they'll be able to contribute and provide news for the newsletter. We'd also like people to come along if they want to get involved in the running of the newspaper. So that's a date for the diary, the 16th of November. So I'll go to the rest of my colleagues and say, is there anybody else who's got good news stories or wants to update? Okay, on that basis.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Apologies, Councillor Jarvie.
Oh, just to congratulate our local academy. We have the Mikey's Line duo. We're hitting the headlines again, doing fantastic fundraising. And Ryan Hernandez named a Senior Phase Student of the Year, which is quite an achievement. And just to say the other day, Derek Brown, our new Chief Executive of Highland Council, responded to one of my questions and will be coming to Nairn to see how Nairn operates, as we're quite different from the city of Inverness. So that will be a nice visit. And to thank the Yarn Bombers for yet again an outstanding effort decorating the postbox toppers with the Remembrance Day cheeriness and to remember our heroes. Very grateful to them. Huge effort. It's a very small group, but very grateful to them.
You're muted again, Michael.
You're muted. Muted. Sorry, apologies. Is there anybody else got anything to say? Okay. In that case, we'll move on to item 4, Nairn Common Good Fund Community Engagement Model. And I'll hand over to Lewis before we have our own comments. So, Lewis, if you'd like to give us a...
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this paper committee sets out proposals and next steps in respect of a Common Good Fund Community Engagement Forum. As you're aware, this is something that we've been talking about for quite a while in the area, so it's good to see some progress reported on this. In terms of background, presently the role of the community and the community councils in respect of Common Good Fund is through statutory consultations, and in line with the Community Empowerment Act. The Act contains a duty to consult with community councils and community bodies, as well as the wider public, when establishing the asset register and proposing to change or dispose of common good property. However, a number of community councils and community representatives have expressed a desire for a stronger role in the Common Good Fund in Nairn than that current approach for engagement with them allows. This desire is particularly apparent in Nairn amongst our community councils. And also, members, since the May 2022 election, you yourselves have requested that a stronger role for Common Good Fund matters be developed for the community. So this proposed paper sets out at Appendix 1 a framework that we're proposing to issue to the community for consultation. And the proposal is basically that Common Good Fund engagement framework is used as the basis for to develop a terms of reference once we've got feedback from the community in respect of its content. And the proposal would be to consult with community groups and then come back to committee with the outcome of that for a further discussion in due course. I'm happy to take questions, Chair.
Thank you, Lewis, and thank you for an excellent report and an excellent piece of work. And I'd also like to thank my colleagues and other officers who have been involved. It's been a real collegiate team approach. Everybody's looking to get more involved and get the common good more engaged in people's life, and so it becomes real, because we're doing rather well as a common good and people need to be involved in the decisions that's forthwith. I should point out that irrespective, councillors' decision making still rests with the councillors. That's a statutory duty, so that this is, as I say, the way that we have to get folk involved in the running of their common good and to get their opinions and act as a sounding board. So delighted with this and well done to all involved. So I'll open it up now, and who wants to speak? Okay, I'll go to Councillor Oldham.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, no, I think this is excellent and long time coming. I have a couple of questions on it. I've been looking at the list on page 5 of our papers. I'm assuming community councils, although it doesn't explicitly say so, we talk about Nairn River and Nairn West and Suburban only there. I was also a bit confused because commercial common good fund tenants appears to in 2 different places. It appears under business and community and also as a separate one of its own. And I'm not sure whether that was intentional or whether that's just something that's crept in. I also had a question about, this is just me being ignorant, but I suspect Nairn Community Enterprise Chair, I think that's nice. Since I took a second glance at that, maybe it should explicitly just say nice there as well as their full name. That was all I had. Thank you, Chair. Oh, sorry, there was one other thing, I beg your pardon. One other thought I had in this. We're talking about this meeting twice a year normally. It occurs to me that when we are thinking as an area committee about going down the road of having a common consultation because of something that's come up, it would make a lot of sense to take it to this committee first before we even consider going to consultation. Consultations cost money, and we could avoid, if it's obvious from the committee that this is not getting a favourable reception, might then choose as an area committee, sorry, not to go out to consultation, like we would just stop at that point. So I think the ability to have ad hoc meetings as required as these things come up would be useful. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, before I hand over, thank you, Councillor Oldham. Before I hand over to Lewis to answer the various points, I totally agree with what you've said about acting as a sounding board, sort of early doors consultation. I think it could be a very useful body for that. So I'll hand over to
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Councillor Oldham. Yeah, you're right. The 2 community councils of Nairn West and Suburban, hopefully once it's re-established along with Nairn River, will be the 2 that take a role in it. And yeah, that reference is for the nice chair. I can reword that so that it's clear that that's what that means. And in terms of the other point, duplication, you're quite right. That does appear twice. The Nairn Common Good Fund tenants. I suppose it was maybe reflective of my keenness to see them involved, but yeah, it is a duplication. In terms of frequency of meeting, there's nothing in the framework that sets out a proposed frequency. Hoping to tease frequency out from yourselves. We have talked in the past about proposed frequencies, suggested frequencies. But yeah, I'm keen that we gather views from yourselves as well as the public. Sorry, you've got your hands up. I'm happy to take further questions.
Yes, so Chair, can I just cut in first? You actually say the frequency, Lewis, at the top of page 5. It says frequency of meetings core group to meet twice yearly. So you have actually defined it in here, which is why I brought it up.
Yeah, my apologies. So it does, but yeah, like I say, it's a draft framework, so hopefully we'll gather views on that. And your other point about ad hoc meetings, I think it is important that there's an ability in this framework, once the terms of reference is established, that we can meet ad hoc with the group as required, really, depending on the subjects for discussion.
I think actually there's going to be a large element of training and education in the sort of first meeting, and I would suggest that it would be sensible and best practice to have a couple of meetings and maybe in the first quarter, 6 months, so that folk are trained, and then we can adjust the frequency as and when the agenda changes or what happens. But I think that in the early stages, and it's only a 1-year pilot, so I tend to think that we should have quarterly meetings at the least, but maybe the training sessions in addition to that as well. So we'll look to do that. And as I say, it's a pilot scheme for 1 year. And we can address these issues, but valid points. Anybody else got anything else to say? Councillor Jarvie.
Yes, thank you, Lewis, for their support. I know it's been a lot of effort and time consuming for you. Yes, just the frequency of the meetings, I would rather leave that open rather than dictate, just to see what comes up. We don't know what comes up. We're very, very fortunate to have a lot of common good assets, but that also brings common good issues. And Sandown is going to be a major, major project. It's going to need several meetings to get that right. Yeah, I like the variety of people that you've got here. Community councils get to chip in, but so do many other organisations across Nairn at every age, apart from elderly. There isn't an elderly representative, and that's a high part of our population. So maybe think about that. We could maybe discuss that. Maybe somebody from one of the care homes or the residential settings.
Okay, well,
I would just like to see a representative specifically for elderly.
The nature of the beast, but
thank you. Yeah,
I don't know.
It's a good point, Councillor Jarvie. I'm really keen that we have as broad a church, to use that phrase, as possible in this group. Although it's maybe not specifically mentioned in the makeup, I hope that basically the groups that we're trying to target this towards will have elderly representatives in there. Although if you've got specific ideas about how we can target the elderly, if there's particular groups that I've missed, I'm happy to tweak the framework and add them to it. And just going back to that previous point that was raised about training and induction, I think you're right. It's key, members, that we have a fairly robust, rigorous training and induction process for the group once we establish it. So once we come back to committee and we hopefully finalise our terms of reference, and then we set about creating this group, I think it's going to be key that the initial 2 or 3 meetings really have quite a strong focus on training and induction, so that we're setting the scene, we're really explaining what the role of the group is, so that there's no misapprehensions in there, and everybody that's round the table knows why they're there, and more importantly what their role is. So yeah, there'll be quite a lot of work, I think, and just pulling that aspect of this together as well, so that we've got a really good, robust training and induction framework.
That's great. The other point I was going to make, you have got a lot of invites here, and I know it's been an issue with the community partnership, trying to get people and dates being pushed along the line and rescheduled. Are you going to allow a proxy attendee there if somebody can't attend? Given that we really would like everyone who's at the training to attend, but
Yeah, sorry, Bob. I tend to think that it's not nominated, designated, so we say designated positions. It's a representative, and if a representative can't make it, then it's up to that individual organisation to get a substitute to come along. I think that would be a sensible approach to that. Not sure if Lewis, if you've thoughts on this.
Yes.
Certainly, Chair. I think when we get to the stage, hopefully at the next committee, when we're pulling together all the views, we could certainly factor something like that into the terms of reference. If members are keen to have that in place, then it's certainly something that we can put into the terms of reference.
Yes, to proxy a substitute, just so that meetings aren't keep getting shunted along the line, which infuriates everyone, and everyone's keen for this to be a success. And it'd be good to have the first meeting after the training, while the training is fresh in everyone's mind, and have as many included on that. So bearing that in mind, if somebody who is taken up with a lot of time, like the police, I know they're really stretched for staff, it might be good to invite 2 to the training, so that substitute is, you know, everyone that is going to attend kind of knows the bearing where we're going from, and we've all got the same focus, same direction, so we're not wasting time at meetings explaining things. We all are on the same foundation. So you might need to issue more invites to the training, just so that bases are covered there from the start.
I think, Bob, as you'll see, the way Lewis has constructed the paper, there's that flexibility inbuilt there that we can invite certain people at certain times along. But I'll let Lewis explain that himself.
Thank you, Chair. And yeah, thanks, Councillor Jarvie. That's a good point as well. You're right. I think we'll need to make sure that we've got a really broad representative makeup when we're doing the training and induction, just to make sure that everybody is aware of all the points that we've covered. Again, you're another good point. It would be good to get into the business of the work stream of whatever the group is working with pretty much immediately after we've carried out that training and induction, so that it's, as you say, fresh in everyone's mind. But yeah, we can talk about proxy representation when we're finalising that terms of reference as well.
Oh, great, thank you.
Right, if you can mute. Now, if that's everybody had their comments, Councillor Fraser.
A wee bit in. As long as we don't get an entire group or organisation turning up en masse, I'm not too worried about the training, because the idea is you train everybody, and designate 1 or 2 for things like the police and other odd services. Single item, I don't think it would be necessary for training, just for single item agenda items. My only concern is just a group turning up and trying to take over the entire meeting. That's the only concern. Otherwise, I think it's a well-written paper, and I'm supporting it. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Mr. Green.
Thank you, Councillor Fraser. Okay, if that's the case, if nobody else anything to say, we'll move to the recommendations, and the committee is invited to 1, note the update provided in the report, 2, agree that the draft framework for a Nairn Common Good Fund engagement group at Appendix 1 is issued for consultation, and thirdly, agree that the outcome of the consultation will be reported back to this committee in January 2024, further proposals for the next steps. So are we agreed?
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. Thank you for that. We'll now move on to item 5, which is the Nairn Common Good Fund financial monitoring report, management accounts, quarterly management accounts in commercial terms, and I'll hand over to Lewis to give us some background on that.
Thank you, Chair. So yeah, this paper is our regular quarterly monitoring report in respect of the Nairn Common Good Fund, and it sets out the financial monitoring for quarter 2 of this financial year 23-24. And there's also a quarterly monitoring statement found at Appendix 1 for members to scrutinise. There's a couple of key points in the paper that I'd like to draw to members' attention. At section 4.4, there's quite a lot of activity set out in terms of property maintenance and what we've used that budget for so far this financial year, and what it's normally used for during the course of the year. In particular, there's a line in there about events and festivals and what we've used that budget line for. So far this year, we've spent from the budget £2,000 to support the Nairn Book and Arts Festival, and £2,500. In addition to that, to support the Nairn Games mast, pipes and drums. And then a further £751 was spent, and again in respect of the Nairn Games for their waste provision. Also, members, just draw your attention to section 4.5 of the report under projects. There's an update there in respect of links development under project costs and what exactly we use that budget for. So this year so far, we've spent some £9,210 on the demolition of the former Links Tea Room store. £3,484 has been spent on some specialist cleaning of the splash pad. Further £1,436 has been spent on the site preparation of the former jet wash site, and we've spent £282 on some replacement equipment down the links in terms of play and amenity space. There's also an update in that section of the report about the community food growing feasibility study. Where we are with that, our in-house transformation project team continues to work through the procurement, and we're currently evaluating bids for the feasibility study. And the intention is that we'll award a contract, I've said in there, by the end of October. It might go beyond that by about a week or so, but we're in the stages of scoring these bids, so we'll hopefully get that work underway soon. The Harbour Street former public toilet site, our design and construction team continue to develop options for the redevelopment of that site, as I previously reported, and my intention is that we'll bring a full update on that project to the next committee. And I'm happy to take any questions on this paper, Chair.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll open that up. Is anybody wish comments to make or questions to ask of Lewis? Okay, so there's no questions to be raised. I should just say for clarification that councillors have access to incredibly detailed accounts for the common good. We can go down to individual code lines. We can find out how much a particular source is paying quarterly for electricity and various things. That's why Lewis explained a few of these bigger figures, which we had discussed previously. But we get access for all the information. It would be voluminous and too much to actually produce on a report for here. But rest assured that your councillors do get very, very detailed financial information. So on that basis, if there's nobody has got anything to say or any points to raise, I'll move to the recommendations. And this is committee is invited to note the position of the Nairn Common Good Fund as shown in the Q2 revenue monitoring statement against budget for 2023-24. Are we agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. We'll now move to the item 6, which is the ward discretionary budget. A degree of disappointment, I'd have to say, that there's not been more applications coming forward. I'll hand over to Lewis and he can give us a little bit of background, but there's not much to say because we're not getting applications in. So.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, we do have an available ward discretionary budget, and as is outlined on the agenda there, there's been no discretionary fund payments approved since the last meeting of the area committee. So yeah, if there are community groups that you're working with, members who are working on a project that you think might be a good fit and would benefit from support from the ward discretionary fund, then please direct them my way, and I can talk them through how to go about making an application.
Thank you for that, Lewis. So if there's nothing to say there, it's been approved. It's just for noting. We'll move to the final item, which is the minutes, and these have circulated and were approved on the 8th of August 23, were approved by the council on the 14th December 2023, and that's just for noting. So, Councillor Oldham, my apologies.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just a little matter arising from that, which is on item 11 of the minutes. It said that the interim ECO was going to bring, or Infrastructure and Environment was going to bring back some details about the A96 Ardessia Port Junction. I don't believe I've had them. I don't know whether anybody else has.
I thought that was not. I thought that wasn't going to happen because I just remember it was awaiting either another department or it was awaiting comments from the Transport Scotland. If it's the A96 one.
Well, that was the question we're asking: was whether it was Council Transport Scotland bed. and she was going to come back to us.
we're probably waiting for an A96 response from Transport Scotland,
Okay,
Transport Road Authority.
I'll get
Ask for Lewis.
yes, I'll
Oh,
get
it's not.
clarification from Lewis here.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks, Chair. I'm happy to pick that up with colleagues and bring something back on that point. I'm not aware of the outcome, but yeah, I'll check in with colleagues and I'll come back with something on it.
Okay, are you satisfied, Councillor Oden, with that? Yep, okay. Okay, apologies. On that basis, that brings to end the committee. I'd like to thank everybody for attending, the officers for the support, and look forward to seeing you for a very exciting committee in January. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Rachel.